All right, good morning and welcome. My name is John Donnadio. I'm the Executive Director of the New Jersey Association of Counties, and I want to welcome you to hello, Assemblyman. How are you? You surprised me. It's good to see you. You can come up here and stand up with us if you like.
I did a false call you this morning.
You did it. You did it.
So funny story.
It's true. It's true.
I called John Domenic, I said John Donadio. So I don't know how that happened. I had to change John's name so I wouldn't keep calling you.
That's true. I had to put a restraining order on the Assemblyman from calling me so many times. Like, what does he want now? We just met. Again, welcome. Again, my name is John Donadio. I'm the Executive Director of the New Jersey Association of Counties. And you're going to hear today from county officials from across the state of New Jersey and on both sides of the aisle who are here today to urge Congress to adopt the report and recommendations of the Ending 911 Fee Diversion Now Task Force, as unfortunately the state of New Jersey continues to be the worst offender of diverting 911 fees in the entire country. Now, to be clear, this is a 90-cent tax on every landline, every wireless line that was dedicated in 2004 to creating a state-of-the-art 911 system. And unfortunately, starting with Governor Corzine in 2009, throughout Governor Christie's tenure, and now throughout Governor Murphy's tenure, the state of New Jersey has instead created a system, and you're going to hear about this later on, of double taxation of residents across the state of New Jersey, and is laying the groundwork for an imminent public safety crisis. But before we get started, there's a couple of individuals that I want to recognize. And the first that we already heard from is Assemblyman Peterson. So thank you, sir, for being here and your support and leadership, and for not calling me anymore. I'm just kidding. And then secondly, and both legislators are available for questions after the press conference, is Assemblyman William Spearman, who made the trip from Camden County just to demonstrate how important this issue is to him. And he is also the sponsor of legislation after we met last year to talk about this issue. So we are very grateful for the Assemblyman's leadership on this issue and for his support here today. So thank you, sir, for making the trip. I appreciate it. I know we all appreciate you being here a great deal. So with that, I am happy to introduce our first speaker. Oh, I forgot one thing. Where's Braden? Braden Fahey, who is the Director of Public Safety. I got your title right this time, right? Director of Public Safety and Emergency Management here in Hunterdon County. He is available to take all of us on a tour of the facility after the press conference and after we have a question and answer session. So with that, I'm happy to introduce our first speaker, Monmouth County Administrator Teri O'Connor, who is also the first county administrator to be president of the New Jersey Association of Counties. So, Ms. O'Connor?
Director, is he going to speak or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Next. Oh, no, my bad.
I thought so.
Woo, I'm a little out of practice. COVID's made me a little of the in-person events. First up is John Lanza, Hunterdon County Commissioner and Director. I'm sorry, man. We even wore almost the same suit today, and I forgot that we're in his hometown. And I'm telling you, I'm slipping in my old age. I'm sorry, brother.
And he tried to correct me when I walked through. Yeah, he's like, no, Teri, he's next. I'm like, all right.
Well, I know everyone wants to get to you, Teri, so we're going to make this fast. But thank you, John, first on behalf of county officials across the state. I want to thank the New Jersey Association of Counties for its dogged determination in pursuing issues of interest and concern to counties across the state. You and your team do a fantastic job, and you're professionals, you're determined, and all your hard work on our behalf we greatly appreciate. So I welcome you all to Hunterdon County. Thanks for making the trip. And we're honored that you have chosen our communications center for this very important media event. I'm joined today just from the county elected officials. We've got Sheriff Fred Brown, who is here, and my colleague Sue Soloway, who is also on the commissioner board. And she is the board's liaison to the Department of Public Safety, under which the 911 Communications Center is part of the operation. So, and Braden's already been shouted out, but I want to do it again. I want to thank our Public Safety Director, Braden Fahey, for organizing the logistics so that we could all be here today for this event. This facility was built in 1986, and we've had a few upgrades to the place, but I think you all can agree that this place is very well maintained and looks really good for a place that's 36 years old. And we are proud here in Hunterdon County that we were the first county in all of New Jersey to consolidate our 911 communications operations, and we did that in 1977, and we've done that continuously for 45 years. And it is our number one shared service, and we're a county that likes to share services. We have a lot of municipalities and not a lot of people, and so we try to find ways to reduce duplicative efforts and an attempt to save money for the people who pay taxes in this county, whether you're a resident or a business owner. And this is one of our top and one of our most prized shared services is right here at this communications center. The center receives 911 calls from all 26 municipalities and engages dispatch for over 60 organizations, including police, fire, EMS, hazmat, and other specialized first responding services. And you all know why we're here today. It's to bring attention to the continued diversion. Diversion, I love that word. You know, if lawyers do it, it's misappropriation. If you do it at the bank, it's called robbery. But if the state does it, it's diversion. But whatever. But we all pay this tax on our phone bills. And it's a subject that I've been focused on for several years on the County Commissioner Board, thanks to the awareness brought to us by NJAC. And just briefly, I want to speak directly to the cost of maintaining the 911 infrastructure here. Those who are involved in emergency response know that there's a constant need and requirement for technological upgrades to the 911 infrastructure to best serve the public in times of need. Since I came to this board in 2014, Hunterdon County has allocated more than $4 million in capital funds to sustain and improve the emergency communications network here. Additionally, for 2022, the Department of Public Safety has requested nearly $4.2 million in capital funds to bolster various elements and equipment that support our 911 program. A particular concern is a needed major upgrade to the computer-aided dispatch system that costs about 50% of that ask, which can be as much as $2 million. And right now, those costs fall entirely upon the property taxpayer in Hunterdon County because the state has diverted this tax that was supposed to be dedicated to fund these specific projects. And so that's why the diversion of funds is such a serious issue. And I'm sure that we will have people coming up here later who talk about the double taxation, the effect of the state taking and pocketing this money that's intended for the purposes that we see here and talk about here today. So it's a serious issue. I'm happy to join with all of you today and put pressure on our state and federal legislators and our governor to help make this right. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak here today and to welcome all of you here to Hunterdon County. And folks, the woman you've all been waiting for, I think John will come up, but you're gonna hear from Teri, who you really wanted to hear. So thank you very much.
I'm good, right? I don't need you to introduce me.
no.
We're good? Yeah. We've embarrassed me enough at this point. Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Director Lanza, for hosting this event in Hunterdon County. We greatly appreciate it. I proudly serve as the Monmouth County Administrator and also as the President of the New Jersey Association of Counties. As a county administrator, responsible for providing essential services to over 600,000 residents in Monmouth County, the state's continued diversion of 911 fees is particularly troubling, as first responders must rely on a precise, accurate, and reliable communication network to protect and save lives, and our residents rely on us to provide a first response when they call 911. Despite what is supposed to be a dedicated source of funding under the 911 System and Emergency Trust Fund account, counties and municipalities have been forced to rely on the collection of local property taxpayer dollars to improve, operate, and merely maintain viable 911 systems. The state of New Jersey collects approximately $126 million in telecommunication surcharges called telephone assessment fees each year and uses only 11% of those monies on eligible expenses, according to the Federal Communications Commission. Even more alarming is the fact that the state of New Jersey has failed to provide any funding for eligible expenses to local 911 centers operated by counties and municipalities, and New Jersey is the only state in the nation that does not share the 911 monies as intended under the law. So with this in mind, NJAC is urging Congress to enact the report and recommendations of the Ending 911 Fee Diversion Now Strike Force, to compel the state of New Jersey to comply with federal guidelines and allocate critical fund monies to county and municipal 911 centers. NJAC is also recommending that the legislature constitutionally dedicate any new 911 fees or surcharges and adopt the best practices as outlined in the New Jersey 911 Consolidation Study, which in part calls for reducing the number of 911 centers to streamline operations and save taxpayer dollars. Counties and municipalities have seen significant savings with consolidations and regionalization efforts in several areas of government. These methods have a proven track record and should be implemented in this case as well. I want to thank everyone for their time, and it is now my pleasure to introduce NJAC First Vice President and Camden County Commissioner John Young.
Thank you, Madam President. John, you're not going to introduce them? It's pick on John, Dave, if anybody didn't notice. So,
He'll have somebody else going.
good morning, and thank you, President O'Connor. I appreciate the introduction. Again, my name is Jonathan Young, and I am the Commissioner of Camden County, and also I am the first Vice President of NJAC. For me, this is not a partisan issue. It's about government doing the right thing and making the necessary investments to protect the public health and safety and welfare of residents as intended under the original law that was proposed, that imposed the 911 surcharges in 2004. Unfortunately, administrations on both sides of the aisle have failed to use this well-intended stable source of revenue to build a state-of-the-art and fully funded 911 system as envisioned. Instead, as is too often the case, entrusted state leaders have used the vast majority of 911 monies to pay general operating expenses in the tune of $1.5 billion in counting. $1.5 billion in counting. I think we can stop with the diversion part of it now, right? With numbers like that, right? So, in addition to laying the groundwork for an imminent public safety crisis that Sheriff Golden will discuss shortly, the state's 15-year-long misallocation of 911 fees has imposed an a system that of double taxation on residents already burdened with paying the highest property taxes and the land with no meaning relief in sight. For the record, county governments alone spend an estimated of $175 million over the last several years on capital improvements for facility upgrades, telephone systems, computer-aided dispatch, location mapping technology, and next-generation 911 enhancements. Counties also spend an estimated $125 million each year on general operating expenses for salaries, staff training, system maintenance, network security, IT consultant services, and much, much more. With these staggering numbers in mind, NJAC is also urging Governor Phil Murphy and the state legislature to restore their vital 911 funding to the county and municipal 911 centers across the state. Thank you for your time and consideration, and it is my pleasure to now introduce Mr. Domenic Villecco, for the president of the New Jersey Wireless Association.
Thank you, John.
Absolutely.
Thank you, John. Thank you for that introduction. And John, I'd like to thank you for inviting me today to speak. I am Domenic Villecco, president of the New Jersey Wireless Association. We're an association, 2,200 members strong, of people that live and work in New Jersey in the wireless industry. In 2008, Congress had enacted the Net 911 Act. And in that act, there were several provisions, including upgrading of systems and ensuring that the people of the United States had the proper 911 systems to protect them, and first responders had the proper tools to enable them to help protect us. In 2013, I brought this to our board and said, this is something that we need to do, and we filed in the FCC's annual annual proceeding on 911 fees. And shortly thereafter, we were contacted by the New Jersey Association of Counties, and they became a partner, and we became a partner of theirs. And thank you to the New Jersey Association of Counties. As you've heard already today, the elevation of the awareness has been tremendous. $1.5 trillion has been misallocated or diverted over a period of 15 years. And this Net 911 Act was specifically set up to ensure and to report annually to Congress that these types of things weren't happening. So this task force that you've got and their recommendations, which I completely agree with on the recommendations, this is second time that they've had a task force with recommendations from the FCC. This has been going on for 15 years. And I think what's really, really important is the amount of money that's collected and the fee that every one of you pay on every one of your landline and cell phone bills is approximately the same fee as the state of Indiana. And Indiana, and we had a presentation back in 2017 at NENA, which is the National Emergency Number Association, which is the Association of Professional Dispatchers. We had a guest from the state of Indiana running the 911 centers. Indiana uses their fees that they collect, the same as New Jersey, to fund all of the 911 centers in the state, if you can imagine that. In our state, ours are funded by taxpayers, not by the fees that they're being taken out of their bills. So I'd just like to thank John Donnadio and the Association of Counties, and I'd like to thank a lot of the guests here that I've actually been able to work with personally over the years to bring this issue really to the forefront, and hopefully we can finally get some action after how many years, John? This is the 9th year we've been chasing this, so thank you. Thank you, everyone.
I get to make a do-over on the introductions. So next up is, except I'm breaking stuff here, Monmouth County Sheriff Sean Golden. How was that?
All right,
All right, John.
thank you. Thanks. No correction there, John. No correction there. So first, thank you all for taking the time out of your busy schedules, and for Hunterdon County, to the county commissioners and the sheriff and all of their emergency management staff here for hosting us today. What is an important message that seems yearly around budget time? We continue to fight for 911 fees here in the state of New Jersey, county by county. As we've had this now a number of times, we will continue to raise awareness and be sure that everyone knows on their phone bill, their 90 cents that is present on their phone bill. Each and every wireless device, families of 4 or more, contribute to the 911 system. And when you make that contribution, know that it goes nowhere for 911. We still operate on a system that has 9,600 baud modems. You heard me correct. Those of you who were familiar with AOL internet service back in the day and the old dial-up, this is what we're up against. Every 911 center in the state of New Jersey has this old technology. And listen, we're not the only state agency when it comes to old technology, as we see through the Department of Labor and the disastrous software that the state of New Jersey has, over 40 years old. We see at motor vehicle when we saw the lines and the software issues at motor vehicle. Our software issues and our old technology in 911 is an embarrassment to the state of New Jersey, certainly embarrassing, and should be really heralded as disgusting when it comes to our first responders and what we have to deal with. Now, you heard from many experts in the field, and I have to commend Hunterdon County, and I know Camden County, our Commissioner Young, they do a tremendous job in being the beacon of what 911 centers should be. All-out service to the communities, everyone under one roof in the 911 system. We certainly are working toward that and are almost there in Monmouth County. I want to thank our Monmouth County administrator and our commissioners who invested, despite the lack of funds, invested heavily in our own 911 system to make it better and to circumvent. Really, when I say circumvent, these 9,600 baud modems don't carry real-time video. They don't carry pictures from the scenes. They don't carry GPS on your smartphones to the 911 operator. We've had to improvise and use software systems. When I say we, every 911 center around the state of New Jersey, 94 PSAPs, and the 21 counties have had to seek out additional software systems at their own expense to circumvent and bypass the old technology to provide our residents with the utmost safety and security. Where did that put us? It puts us here almost 10 years later, and as the commissioner indicated, $1.5 billion in the hole when it comes to 911 funding. We're not alone. Some of this is done, although New Jersey is the biggest offender, some of it is done in other states around the country. As such, I want to thank New Jersey Association of Counties, NJ Wireless Association, the NJ Sheriff's Association, and the National Sheriff's Association for nominating me to the nationwide 911 strike force of the Federal Communications Commission. We did a lot of work last year in breakout groups. I joined other leaders from around the country, leaders in PSAP technology, 911 systems, and emergency management, all of which came together to identify those states that are violators of fee diversion, New Jersey being number one. Always the dubious distinction, and it is listed in the report. As such, the strike force had gotten together, produced a report that is being submitted to the House Energy Committee, as well as the Science and Technology and Transportation Committee in the United States Congress. We urge our legislators, all of our county commissioners throughout the state of New Jersey, and anyone else that wants to sign on through NJAC, the New Jersey Association of Counties, to sign a resolution forwarding it to our members of Congress, 12 strong here in New Jersey, along with our 2 state senators, to urge them to adopt the report that is being submitted to Congress on the 911 strike force. The recommendations in here will create punitive penalties against those states that divert funds. For instance, one of them, there will be fines imposed to the states that divert funds. That fine is on a stepped up scale, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days of fines. Now, fines won't do it. Fine is only 1% of the total. You do the math. Even if it was 10% of 126 million, the states would still gobble up $100 million and divert it for their own use in their own way. It's not enough. The Federal Communications Commission Strike Force recommended that after notification and after those steps, that they suspend any future licensing for agencies that divert funds. Licensing meaning license of spectrum. That will certainly gain the attention of state leaders, not only in New Jersey, but all of the other offending states listed in the report. It's something that needs to be enacted in Congress. We all need to band together to not only encourage our state legislatures, both in the House, in the Assembly, and the Senate, to pass the dedicated trust fund, but also to pass resolutions backing the members of Congress to adopt the strike force penalties so that we don't see this ever again in the future. With that, I'll turn it back over to John Donnadio. Thank you all again.
Thank you, Sheriff, and thank everyone for speaking today. We're happy to answer any questions if anyone has any. And if not, Assemblyman Spearman or Assemblyman Peterson, would you like to say a couple of
I
words?
defer to the chairman.
Mr. Chairman?
Thank you, Assemblyman. I actually have a bill that addresses this issue. We worked together with NJAC on this last year. We weren't able to get any traction last year, but this year I'm chair of Law and Public Safety. So let's see if we can get it passed this year, or at least get it out of committee. I have one of my committee members with me, so I'm sure we can work together to address this issue after how many years? 15 years?
15 years.
Yeah, I think it's about time we got this done. So, Assemblyman?
I just like to say, what I don't think a lot of people understand is, and Assemblyman Spearman is from Camden County, and you're from Camden County. I was born in Camden, grew up in Cherry Hill in Camden County, which is much different than here. And what a lot of people don't understand is out here, we rely heavily on volunteers. So during the day, we don't have a lot of people for the fire and the rescue out here. So our 911 center has to coordinate where our resources are so we can provide emergency services to the folks here in Hunterdon County. So we need to have a very robust and complex system to be able to divert our resources to where they need to go. Unlike in Camden County, where you have lots of resources all the time but you have a lot more calls. So when we lose that money, we don't have an option. We have to do these things. And the Freeholder Board has always been committed to the 911 center here. Long before I was on the Freeholder Board and everyone else here was on the Freeholder Board. It gets very difficult when we rely on volunteers alone to make it work if you're not on the state of the art and know exactly where all the resources are at any one time. So I love this idea. We can do something bipartisan. Maybe I can vote yes on one of our bills in the committee, right? So I would love to work with you on this and on a bipartisan issue because, look, I'm all too often, and actually I'm going to be introducing some legislation that we had drafted. All too often you see these taxes on different bills, your utility bill, your phone bill. You have no idea where they go. You don't have any idea what they do. And sometimes it's more than the actual service that's being provided, right? That's just outrageous. So I'm going to be introducing legislation that says every tax has an automatic sunset and the legislature has to reinstitute that tax. Because what it does is it gives the people an opportunity to say, hey, we don't need this tax anymore, or I didn't know I was paying for that. This money shouldn't be diverted. So I think the people need to have the opportunity to have that discussion with their legislature on a regular basis about the taxes they paid so that these type of things don't happen in the future and that the people are in control of their tax money, not having it diverted or a tax that's no longer needed is no longer collected. So I'll be introducing that legislation. I'd like to have you take a look at it, and maybe we can both do something good for the people of New Jersey. John, thank you for putting this on. It's a very important issue, and it's about safety. It's about health. It's all those things together, and this is a bipartisan issue because it impacts every community in New Jersey, and it's about time that the money that they're taking out of your pocket gets spent the way that it was intended. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Assemblyman, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. I again appreciate you making the long trip here. So if there are no questions, we do. Oh, I'm sorry. My glasses are not working.
So can you talk the state of 911 today? I mean, when I'm at my house or on the road and I make the call because I have an emergency, is there, how reliable is it today versus what, I mean, is some of this a wish list that you want or,
I'm going to defer to the good sheriff on this one. This is his area of expertise. So, sir?
So what happens is, yes, when you call 911, the call will be answered. However, as I said, some of those services that should be incorporated, something simple as, you have Find My iPhone or your children have Find My iPhone and we can pinpoint them right to sitting in one of these seats. That's not so with the 911 service. The system is not capable of doing that. We've had to use additional software to take the IP addressing off of your phone and pinpoint, like Rapid SOS. I'm not sure what they use up on Hunterdon, but we use Rapid SOS. So the wireless pinpoint service, as well as some of the others. Text to 911, that's an additional software that was brought in by the state of New Jersey. It does not run through the 911 system. Why? It's built on copper phone lines. Verizon doesn't want to deal with the copper phone lines anymore. They go into these modems. This gives us the address of your physical address through any alley. However, a lot of that's going away. 80% we did 1 million calls last year for service in Monmouth County. Answered 1 million phone calls in our 911 center. Reached a milestone in terms of 911 calls itself, which was over 300,000. However, those 300,000 are not, 80% are now wireless, right? And so we need to adapt a new system that is an IP-based system, A lot of other states are way ahead of the game. Not a surprise that New Jersey is one of the last to deploy some type of IP system-wide, which would benefit everyone. It would benefit Hunterdon County here. It would benefit Monmouth County, not just for those video and text messages and other services that are IP-based, but in terms of backup. So should Hunterdon County go down, all of that can be switched into regional PSAPs, much more easy on an IP-based system than an old copper phone line system.
So other places are using, I think the commissioner said before when we were talking, you know, I'm at a store and I see something happening, I can take a picture of the perpetrator, right?
Yeah.
And send it to you, but I can't do that now, right?
Some you can, some you can't. If you're using 911i in Monmouth County, we can ping your phone back and say accept, and you'll accept the video permission, if you will, and that will allow us to accept those pictures. Some counties don't have 911i. I'm not sure if you have it up here, but some do, some don't. There are 94 PSAPs. They're all dealing with different software issues, trying to circumvent an old copper phone line system that Verizon doesn't even want to support anymore. It's been decades, and we are in dire need of the IP-based upgrade.
And whatever improvements, it sounds like, have been happening, essentially the counties have been paying for, which
Yes.
means the taxpayers, right?
As you see by all of the nods here, the counties have been funding the bill, and it's certainly not from the $126 million a year that the state of New Jersey receives from those carriers on the phone bills.
And the strange part about it is that out of the it's 94 PSAPs, 21 counties, right? We've made proposals to them. I think last year, the year before last, they put $5 million into a program where they were going to allow us grants to do it. That $5 million is now gone. You know what I mean? Even if they gave each county $1 million to help them out, to offset it, you're still looking at $120 million or plus that the state has to use, right? So they're just physically just not sending the money back to the counties where it belongs.
And what are they using it for?
I think it's drops right into the general budget.
Yeah.
You know, Camden County itself sends $6 million of that tax money every year up to the state, and we've received not $1 back from it.
Colleen, it's in the department, and I can share with you the budget appendix. It's in the Department of Law and Public Safety. It's the state police. It's rural policing. There's about 4 or 5 things that the monies fund, which are all, you know, certainly well intended, but it's not, the money is not going for where it's supposed to go. And you can hear it's a fragmented, disjointed, antiquated, you know, system that should be more uniform because of the amount of money that has been collected for this dedicated purpose. Again, we're looking at $1.5 billion in the past 15 years that the state of New Jersey has robbed, misallocated, diverted, whatever adjective you want to use.
And just so we're so kind of put it into perspective, right? So you look at, you know, me and Sheriff talk about this all the time, how, you know, some counties are affordable to enough to have a modern day state of the art, if you will, 911 center, right? But then we have counties like Cumberland County, right, who has to start all over again. It's going to cost them $40 million just to get their building and their 911 system up to where we are, right? Where do they get that money from? And that's what we're here about, right? It's not so much about us who have you know, decent. It's about our neighbors, right? Because we're only a natural disaster away from the whole thing failing, and if we can't help our neighbors out, then what good is our system, right? So, and that's what we're looking to do. We're looking to make sure that every PSAP in the state of New Jersey has operating costs for them to be able to save lives. Period. That's what they're in business for.
And just if I can just add one more thing, like I think what's particularly troubling, and again, this is, you can see this is a nonpartisan issue. I can tell you, we'll have all 21 counties on board with this, sending letters and resolutions to members of Congress and the legislature, is that this budget in particular, this state budget, we're looking at a $50 billion budget with zero monies coming back to counties and municipalities to provide a basic public safety service. And that's particularly alarming for our folks right here. You couldn't find somewhere in this budget monies to provide grant funding as an incentive, for counties to regionalize and deliver these services. So for us, this year in particular was particularly troublesome.
And they want to add money to it.
Right. I'm sorry. They're right. There's legislation. I don't remember the bill number right now. Alan, help me out here. What's that bill number? Yeah, Alan's our legislative director at NJAC, and it's legislation that would impose an additional fee on your telephone line to provide services for mental 988 for mental health. Again, important issue, but now you're adding a tax on a tax on a tax to divert that money, like the energy tax receipts, like the affordable housing monies. I mean, when does it end, right? And we want it to end now, and that's why we're here today. We're going to continue to be here and raise this issue.